सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So, yesterday, okay, you revise. You tell me what we saw yesterday in this class.
Yesterday, you talked about assumptions. For me, that was very, among other things.
And you were analyzing the assumption that I'm limited and through an action I could become unlimited,
Okay.
limitless.
Good.
And that was not possible. So the only option is to find out whether I am already limitless. So that's where we are.
Very good. Okay. So yesterday we saw that all of us are actually searching for moksha. We all want freedom, right? Nobody says I don't want freedom, but we search through different things. So artha, dharma and kama we saw. And then who is a mumukshu? The one who recognizes that through different forms of security, through different forms of pleasure, and even by being a good human being, you don't get the freedom that you are looking for. Now then the next question is then how do I get the freedom? I can't give up my desire to be free. So where do I find it? So as he said that there is one more analysis and saying that now I'm caught in a paradigm that I have assumed that I'm limited and I want freedom from limitation and I'm holding on to different things which are limited. So limited plus limited always remains limited, right? It doesn't give you freedom from limitation, and therefore now the world is limited because it is within time and space. You can't change, right? So now the only place where that freedom is possibly available is in what I perhaps my starting point that I am small and insignificant itself is wrong, right? So I now begin to inquire into who am I, and not with not try to find change things to make me happy within the same paradigm, because I understand very clearly that within the same paradigm there is no solution. That is very important, right? Now when I do that, now the next question is how do I get to know my larger self?
My larger self.
Yeah, how do I know it? How can I know it?
It's natural.
Yeah, if it was natural, I would already know it.
Yeah.
So now that I don't know it, and if all of us live with this error, right? So it's not as natural. So I must have some tool to find it out, right? So how do I do it?
Through knowledge.
Sorry?
Through gain knowledge.
And knowledge of what? See, you've gone to school, you've gained lot of knowledge. There are
actually the knowledge of what is shielding me from the truth.
Yes, exactly.
So I
Now
can
how
only
do I
move
gain that
untruth.
knowledge? That's where, see, I'm teaching you, this class is Introduction to Vedanta. So this is not morning class, which is Value of Values. So it sometimes gets a little technical, but I have to, right? So any knowledge, please understand, Can I
Yeah,
take
you
out?
Can, yeah, you can do.
I can erase? Oh, but this is very difficult
Maybe
to
ask a
erase.
new one.
Yeah, this
Shall
is
we go ask a
impossible.
new one at the manager?
I
It's
didn't know
impossible.
because it was the other way around actually. I used this for the mantra.
Oh, but that is full.
Oh, other class.
Oh, who gave you a cookie? Yeah, I know.
Perhaps
Yeah,
he
but
thought
this
I'll
goes
have strength.
easier.
Oh, this is easier.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's meant to be this way.
Maybe you can wash it with water, no?
Yeah, but
Oh,
this
it's
is
going,
this
it's
is
going.
easy.
At least it's okay. It's going there. It was impossible. Oh.
It's all on recording now, Otto.
It's still recording.
Funny, huh? See you in this class. You should laugh.
I saw him.
Yeah, it is good. The laughing makes it a little lighter. Learning a little more fun, right? Not so serious.
Sometimes things just go wrong, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, absolutely, you need knowledge, but knowledge of what? Of self. But now the question is, how do I get to know my true self? Whose notes and these are yours?
Thank you so much.
So how do I get to know myself? What do I do? It seems natural, but it's not as natural because everybody else is confused and nobody is able to remove that confusion. So how do I know it? So this is why we get into the inquiry of means of knowledge. Yesterday you were talking about, Ludwig was talking about means of knowledge when I talked about jnanam. So, means of knowledge. What does means of knowledge mean? In Sanskrit, we call it pramana. And this is an important thing. So, suppose I want to, if I ask you, what is this? Water bottle. Okay, so suppose you say it's water bottle. Now, if I ask you, how did you come to know? That's knowledge, right? I asked you what it is and you answered my question. This is water bottle. It was not difficult for you. How did you come to know?
You recognize it.
Yeah, how?
Memory.
Yeah, you know it from because you learned it before, or you saw it before.
Yeah, little more fundamentally. How did you? What gave you? Memory was used later. The first time. How did you know?
You've been taught that this is a water bottle.
Okay, yeah,
Through eyes.
through your eyes,
Senses.
right? Senses.
Means, yeah.
Right? Senses. So this is called perception. So what is perception? Means of knowledge means if I raise my hand and if I ask you this question, what is in my hand? In order to answer my question, you have to use your eyes. Without using your eyes, you can't answer my question. So that's why eyes is considered a means of knowledge, right? Because that gives you knowledge, then you use memory to memorize it. But the first thing is the eyes, right? So eyes report, what do eyes report? Forms. Eyes report forms, you see the sun, you see the trees, you see. The first means of knowledge is eyes. And later on, somebody teaches you this is called tree. In Sanskrit, it is called vriksha. In French, it is called l'arbre. So whatever, the name you give later, but the object you recognize with your eyes. Okay, so this is, but this means of knowledge when you use your five senses. So what are the five senses? In order to see the forms, you use your eyes. In order to hear the sound, which sense organ do you use? Ears, right? In order to taste, what do you use? Tongue. In order to feel the touch, skin, right? And the smell,
No.
nose. So this is called means of knowledge. If you want to see the world, right? Please understand. If you want to see the objects of the world, you use, this is called perception. And perception is done through 5 sense organs. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. And this in, do you need to know Sanskrit names or no?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't want to make it sound very technical and intimidate you. I'm not here to show off I know Sanskrit, right? So I want to just, if you think that it is useful for you, then I'm
It's
happy
not
to.
a need, it's just a liking.
Okay, like it. What about everybody else? You would like that? Okay. Just if you don't remember it, it doesn't matter at all, right? Whether you know Sanskrit words or you don't know Sanskrit words, more important is you understand the ideas, right? What I'm talking about. So this is called pratyaksha, perception is called pratyaksha pramana. Hmm? And now, everything, now suppose I ask you, everything that you know, is it through perception?
No.
No. What are the things that you know which are not through perception?
Feeling.
Okay, good. Right? So that means, suppose I ask you, how are you feeling now? And you answer, oh, I'm feeling sleepy. Or you say that I'm feeling happy, right? Or I'm feeling a little down. Did you see something outside to answer that question? No. But you did answer that question. So how did you come to know how you're feeling? You didn't use your eyes, you didn't use your ears, you didn't use your nose. Hopefully not. So how did you come to know?
You can feel the body inside.
Okay, so there is something which is called witness perception. And in Sanskrit we call it Sakshi Pratyaksha. And what it means is there are certain things that you can come to know about your internal conditions without using your sense organs. Sense organs are used to see the objects outside, but suppose how you feel, you know, because your mind is able to recognize different feelings that you have. Your mind is able to recognize what is going on. So therefore, and your mind is also able to recognize whether your eyes can see or not. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Your mind is able to recognize whether your nose is able to smell or not, or your ears are able to hear or not. Do you understand? Ears are used to hear sounds which are external. This is called perception. But there is something called witness perception, which is what your mind is able to recognize your internal conditions.
It went away in the cough.
Internal conditions. So suppose I ask you, right, the doctor asks you, is your knee paining? Did you see something else? No. But you are able to recognize your internal conditions. Is your throat aching? It's not an external object. Do you understand? We use witness perception all the time to answer so many questions. So this is what we call witness perception. Now, there are other things that we use. Suppose I ask you, Earth, is it flat or is it round? That's good. reports that it is flat, right? Because when you look out, it looks like a flat earth. But hopefully, you don't say that, you say that what earth is round. But your perception gives you a different data. It tells you that it's flat. How did you come to know that it is round?
Memory.
But how? Which memory?
You have learned.
But yeah, exactly. So now we are talking about learning. We are not right now talking about memory. Memory is used later on, subsequently.
Scientifically knowledge.
Okay, good. Scientific knowledge. How did a scientist figure out that, that's why we are talking about something more fundamental. Please understand. Any knowledge you want to gain, you need an appropriate means of knowledge. Otherwise, you can't gain it, right? So what it means is, how did scientists figure out, right? Because everybody was watching and everybody saw a flat earth. What was so special about that scientist who figured out that it's actually not flat, but it's a globe, it's a round? How did he figure out? What is the means of knowledge?
Experience.
But everybody experienced, and everybody concluded something else.
Investigation.
Huh?
Investigation.
Exactly. So, what is used in investigation? What are the tools that are used in investigation?
Measurement.
How? We didn't go and measure.
Traveling. I think that was.
Okay. So, there is a second very important means of knowledge which is called inference.
Yeah.
Right? Inference.
Yeah.
Gevolgd.
Inference.
The first means of knowledge we have is perception, and the second is inference. You know what inference means? I will explain to you what inference means. So, pratyaksha, and this is paroksha. And what is inference? So let's just look at this person who first discovered that the earth is possibly not flat, even though all of us see it as flat. What did he do? Actually, it was almost by an accident. He was he was at the seashore, and he was watching a ship going into the sea. And all of a sudden, there was almost like a miracle, because the ship disappeared from his vision. That made him ask a question. If the earth is flat, right, how is it that I'm able to see it till here and then not there? That raised a question in his head, and then he did an inquiry using logic. What did he figure out? That actually, the earth is globe. And that's why what happens at the curvature, when the ship goes that side, you don't see it anymore. So what this is inference is a very important tool. We come to know, so almost all the scientific discoveries are all based on inference. Why? Because we see sun rising in the eastern skies and setting in the western sky. But what does the scientist tell? I mean, what have scientists discovered? That the sun is stationary. It's the earth which moves. So it's not perception, because the perception is sunrise and sunset. But what we come to know is something much more. And how did we come to know? We used logic. Right? Otherwise we couldn't come to know it. So, and logic now, how does inference requires two things. It is based on perception. You do perceive certain things, but what you don't stop at perception, you use reasoning to find out a little bit more about the world than what your eyes can see or what your senses report. The whole quantum physics is all based on inference. Why? Because they tell you this world that you see, which is all very tangible, it's nothing but atoms and particles. You don't see atoms and particles, you see objects. But they come to know And that is how it is. So what we call is inference is a very important tool. Either it is one step inference or it is multiple step inference. What is an example of one step inference? You are driving a car on a highway, and German highways are like the speeds are very, very high, right? Now, but suppose you want to avoid an accident, right? The speeds are so high that you don't actually see very well the speed at which the car is going. But what you do is, when the car which is in front of you, you see red, then what happens? When you see the red light on, what do you understand?
He's braking.
Is braking. This is called inference. Because the perception is that of red light, but what is the inference? He is slowing down, he is braking, and what do you do then? You also brake. We do this all the time. So that means perception and inference are one of the most important means of knowledge. So one step inference is called paroksha, anumana. It is paroksha, but it is anumana. And two-step inference, so this is simple. Car is a very simple inference, right? But advanced inference is, for example, quantum physics. It's not just one logic, it is multiple logic. So this is what we call arthapatti. More than one step logic, advanced inference. It's called arthapatti. Okay. Now, these are the things through which we know most of the things that we know. Pratyaksha, Sakshi Pratyaksha, and Anumana. What? Perception, one step inference, and multiple step inference. Right? Now, the next question is, through these methods, can we figure out who am I? Anything that we have known so far is through these methods, by the way.
What else is there?
Huh?
Yes, I guess so.
You can?
I would say almost.
Almost, but not totally. Why?
But you can ask yourself, who is the one who sees things?
Yeah, but how will you find the answer?
Yeah. There must be.
You can
there
ask
must
a
be.
question. So,
Well, science didn't find it out. so
you
it's
didn't
not
find it
possible.
out,
No.
right? Absolutely. So what you do need to understand is whether it is perception or inference, right? It cannot arrive at what is my true nature. That's why genius is, right? You can get a Nobel laureate and you still don't know who you are. You're very sharp at your perception. You're very sharp in your inference. The scientists are not ordinary. They are able to figure out so many things that we have no clue about.
So they decided it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Do you understand?
I understand.
That on your own, because the tools that are given to you, which is perception and inference, it is why? Because it is meant for objects outside. So you can come to know so many, you can solve so many mysteries about the universe. The scientists are brilliant people. They think about Big Bang and how, when did the Big Bang happen, and a few seconds after Big Bang, what was the scenario, everything they know. So it's incredible that they can come to know all of this through logics. But it is all about the external world. About knowing myself right? The infrastructure is such that it is meant for objects. Now, the next question is, if I want to know my true nature, my larger reality, which neither I know or nor anybody else seems to know, nor anybody has an access through perception and inference, then how will I ever know it? So, this is where we call Shabda Pramana. What is Shabda Pramana? This is what you were talking about, the ancient body of knowledge. And what is this Shabda Pramana? Shabda is the words. And any words. Here we are studying Vedas, so we are talking about study of the Vedas, Vedanta. And Vedanta reveals, it's a body of knowledge which is contained in Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita, which reveals who you are. It kind of, it's almost like a mirror which makes you see who you are. The words become a mirror. It shows you what your true nature is. So therefore, what do the words do? The words of the Vedanta, what do? They can't produce your true nature because it's already there. What do the words do? They just remove the clouds. They remove.
Read our minds.
Yeah, they help you remove the ignorance and see yourself in true light. So this is why the words of Vedas become a means of knowledge, pramana. So that's why somebody was saying, I would not say it's a philosophy, it's not a mental speculation. It's not a human being who's kind of sitting and thinking and figuring out or speculating on what is the universe. These are the words which reveal your true nature. Now, sometimes it may seem like a naive thing, right? Like, what are these words and where did they come from? And, why should I believe in those words? Please understand, a questioning mind will ask these questions. And these are legitimate questions. Please don't poo-poo them, right? They are legitimate questions. Why should I take it as though these words are going to give me the final reality about myself? Why should I think like that, right? So in order for a pramana to be valid, it must meet 3 conditions. I'm getting technical. I'm sorry, but I have to do this. You have to know what you are doing and why you are doing what you are doing. Why you are sitting and spending so many hours listening to Vedanta for what?
Strong desire for freedom.
Yeah, exactly. And how does this do this, right? So, now, how does Vedanta, which is a pramana, in order for anything to give you, to even say that it gives you a valid knowledge of who you are, it has to, any pramana, for it to be a valid pramana, it has to meet 3 conditions. What are the 3 conditions? The first is anadigatam. What does anadigatam mean, right? Why do you need inference? Because perception cannot do the job that inference can. If perception could do the job that inference can, inference becomes redundant. So anadigata means that, now look at this, only eyes can see the forms, ears have no access to forms, it only has access to sound. The taste has, your tongue has access not to forms, it has only access to taste. So what does it mean? Each pramana has its particular domain. It only works for that and nothing else can replace it. Do you understand? That is the definition of anadigatam. Anadigatam means you can't arrive at it by any other means of knowledge. Now, how do I know that the words of Vedanta give me the truth and they don't take me for a ride? Right? So, the second condition for pramana is abadhitvam. Abadhitvam. Abadhitatvam means that it cannot be negated. So what it means is, look at this. How does inference work? The person who inferred that the earth is round, it was contradicting the perception, all of our perception that earth is flat. But how did the humanity as a whole shifted to the earth is round, even though we all continue to see the earth as flat? Because he had logics which cannot be negated. He has logics which cannot be negated. So we all had to say that the eyes give us a data which is not final. Right? It captures realities to a certain extent, but it doesn't teach us everything. So this is why what that person, right? What he did is to first show that the earth is round, and second, what he did is acknowledged that the perception is showing you a different reality, that the earth is flat, but he reconciled. Why is it, if the earth is round, why does it appear flat? There is a reconciliation. There is a reason why. Right? So this is what we call non-negation of what is being discovered. So there is a very beautiful, I always found it very amazing, that when Albert Einstein discovered that time and space is relative, and until then the classical physics was what thinking about time and space was the only thing which was absolute. Everything else was within time and space, and it was relative. And when he discovered that the time and space itself is relative, he himself was surprised. Because he didn't know that. It was a discovery. And the first statement he made is, the ground on which I'm standing is beginning to shake now. So what does it mean? He found something that he did not even anticipate. It's not like he was, but he figured things out. Now, because when he discovered that, it doesn't mean that the whole humanity immediately said, oh, it's Mr. Einstein, so let's all just believe in him. There was no belief. He had to stand in front of scientists who were all brilliant, and they were questioning him left, right, and center. And he had to show them how, logically. And if they had any other counter argument, he had to show them that this is not possible, logically. So, if something is a valid means of knowledge, it has to meet the second condition. And what is that? It has to be non-negatable. Non-negatable by logic. Only otherwise, anything you can call pramana, and anything you can start following. Any Tom, Dick and Harry can tell you any story and you say, it's pramana. So let's follow it. So, the condition is anadigatam. It has to show you something that other pramana cannot show. The second is, what it shows is non-negatable. And the third thing is, it has to be phalavat arthabodhakatvam. It has to be useful for you. Suppose I tell you, there is heaven, and in that heaven, crows have 125 teeth. Perhaps, we don't know. But how does that help you? It has no help. So what it means is, the pramana should also give you something which is useful, which is something which is going to enhance your understanding, which is going to help you. So this is what we call phalavat arthabodhakatva. Now, so the words of Upanishads, which is Vedanta, in order for them to be valid, they have to meet all three conditions. If Adi Shankaracharya said, if they don't meet these three conditions, we have to discard them. This is what we call commitment to truth. We don't start by saying this is the truth and just swallow whatever it is saying. This is not the approach. The approach is if there was any knowledge which was really true, it has to meet this condition. Now let's see if Vedanta claims to make you understand your true nature, it has to meet these three conditions. The first condition, anadigatatva. True, your perception and your inference gives you only data about the world. It doesn't give you data about who you are. You can't figure out. Why? Because the nature of I am is not available to you as an object. There is only one thing in this universe which is known to you without objectifying, and that is the self. For everything else, you have to use your eyes or your ears or whatever. But if I ask you, do you exist or not? Do you have to use your eyes? Do you have to use your ears? No. You answer my question, yes, I am. How did you answer it? I am is the only reality which is given to you, which is self-evident and self-existent. Now the next question is, if it is self-evident and it is self-existent, why do you need Vedanta?
Obscured.
Exactly. This I am, that all of us know about, it gets obscured. How does it get? I am doesn't get obscured. What gets obscured is your true nature. I am is always there, but it gets mixed up with the conditions of the body. It gets mixed up with conditions of the mind. It gets mixed up with conditions of your senses. And all of us live with that confusion. We have no way. On one hand, we know I am, but what on the other hand, because of ignorance, we have taken that I am to be as good as the body, mind, sense complex, which is so small and so limited.
Can I ask him something?
Just let me, can I finish
Okay,
the idea
finish,
just
of
1
course,
minute?
you can finish.
So, and through perception and inference, we don't have the access to undo this confusion. So what do the words do? The words make me negate what I'm not and make me see who I am. So this is the first thing, which otherwise I cannot, right? Second, abaditattva. Abaditattva means a lot of you, when you were talking about what attracted you to Vedanta, many of you said it's logical. And it's actually not arrived at by logic. But because it is a pramana, it cannot be contradicted by logic. So what does it mean? There are people who think otherwise, people who don't buy what you are saying. And they have other, they have arguments, they have logics to disprove what you are saying. So if Vedanta was a valid means of knowledge, all those logical contentions that are raised by anybody, be it a philosopher or a common man or a scientist, they can they may choose not to listen to Vedanta, but they cannot find a logical fault with Vedanta. They cannot say this is illogical. That they can't say. So what it means is, it is not just buying and swallowing ideas. All those the realities which are explained in Vedanta, they are tested against logics. And logics of not just you and me, logics of big people. So this is what gives Vedanta certain gravitas, certain strength. We are not afraid of logic. We are not afraid of reasoning. We are not afraid of questioning. So that means there is a certain confidence, and we are able to debate, and we are able to use logic to show that this fact that you are the whole, nobody can negate through logic. So this is abaditvam, and it is phalavat arthabodhakatvam. What is phalavat arthabodhakatvam? Smallness is something that you could never accept about yourself. This is one knowledge which starts by saying, you are the whole right now, and I'm going to show you how. And no logic of the world can contradict what I'm saying. Why wouldn't you listen to a knowledge like that? Because it solves your problem, which you wanted to solve for lifetimes, perhaps. And it doesn't tell you, you follow me and I will make you. Like you saw that, I think he was talking about. It doesn't say, right now you are small and you will become big. No, you are the whole.
Yeah.
So that means this is phalavat. It solves my, problem of limitation, of mortality, of insignificance. So these are the three conditions that Vedanta meets as a pramana. Pramana is means of knowledge. So that's why we have to just give it a chance. Give it a chance and listen to it. And you can ask any question, you can use any logic to try to negate what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
Yes,
until,
there I come.
sorry, yeah,
For me, you tell a lot of truth, of course. I mean, that's no doubt about.
yeah,
But I have to check this.
yeah,
I check this somewhere in me.
yes,
So I need a place when you say something important. Oh, this is very important, I feel. Then I have that I do with the book as well. I read a sentence. I say, oh, this is very much what I need, or what I. And then I need some time to.
assent.
Okay, how is this in me? How is it in me? And when you go on with your story, then I forget about it, and it is a story. And that's what I'm missing. I'm missing the time to acknowledge this, or somewhere
Yeah,
to get
true,
it done.
True, true,
in
true.
me.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. See, the way you look at the world and the way I'm going to show the world is completely different. Completely different. So, it's not like one time you listen to me and you get it. It's impossible. But
Okay.
it is true, right? But what you have to do is, this is why the teacher, right? You suppose you come and like over dinner, you start talking about Maya. I don't get into that. Why? Because you have to listen to me systematically and you need to think about it. And it can take years and years and years before you can figure it out.
Yes, it has to ripe, of course.
It has to ripe.
Yeah, that's.
But every step right? This is why what we do is, right, sometimes it's overload of information. But suppose now I taught first class and I give you 10 days to think about it. Then what will happen? By the time I have to go home, you have to go home. So I have to give you kind of, maybe you feel overloaded, and it's true, it is a feeling of everyone. But I have to teach what I have to teach.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know.
And then what happens is, you're right, you feel that, yeah, some of it I get, some of this I don't even understand, and some of this is going a little above, or it's not fitting with my being, the way I'm used to looking at things. It will happen. It cannot but happen.
Yeah.
But what is the other way? You have to listen and re-listen and re-listen. So the first time, I have to tell you this, the first time I listened to my teacher, and it was in the US, and it was a whole day seminar from 9 to 4. And in this 9 to 4, he was so brilliant. He taught the entire Vedanta in that 9 to 4. It was complete. When I came out of it, what did I remember? Oh, he was talking about pot and clay. That's all.
About?
Pot and clay. What it means is, he was telling me so many things. And he actually told me the whole truth in a logical manner. But my mind just took what? That little tiny part. But that little tiny part got me thinking. It got me thinking, what is more real, clay or pot? Are there two things called clay and pot? Or one is just a name and the other is the substance? So what it means is, I do not expect you all to understand everything that I'm talking about.
No, that I understand.
Yes, and I do not, and I do understand the difficulty of, swallowing or even fathoming a vision which is so different from it almost seems like conditioning, right? We are feeling small and insignificant, so somebody comes and conditions you and says, you are the whole. Sounds good. That's why this second part is so important. Abhaditattvam, right? You use logics. You don't just tell people and make
Magic.
people. Yeah, there is no magic. There is no experience. There is no mysticism. There is understanding. And any understanding, any advanced understanding, takes time. You don't understand Einstein's equation in one day.
No, I'm.
So years and years and years of looking into it is required, and dedication, and removing doubts. And this is something which is very, that's why Vedanta becomes a lifetime pursuit.
Yeah, I'm. Can I ask you something?
Yes.
Look, there is of course a difference between teaching and,
Yes.
and satsang, for example.
Yes.
And somewhere in between
Yes.
is something. Maybe.
So.
Yeah. I'm always more from experiencing.
Yeah.
So what you tell, I understand or some of it, and then what you experience somewhere, it stays.
Yeah.
Right? That stays. But what you hear and listening, that goes through you. And one time you say, okay, here's something, and then you experience something and that's
Yeah. So see, the thing is, all of us experienced flat earth for a long time. Does it establish truth? See, as long as we ourselves restrict ourselves by saying that reality is established by experience. If reality was established by experience,
No, that's true. Yeah,
so
yeah.
please, think about these things, because these are very fundamental things, So we all, nobody experiences mostly space and atoms and particles, but that is the truth. If you say, oh, this is not truth until I experience it, you'll always wait forever.
So you don't have the means with the experiencing.
Exactly. That's why we talk about means of knowledge. Do you understand how important everything that I'm teaching is critical in understanding what Vedanta is? You can't skip a step. Any knowledge is not gained by experience. Knowledge is gained by means of knowledge. That is correction you have to do here. And means of knowledge may contradict your experience. And
And
you
leads
have to
you
be
back.
ready for it. And you have to be ready for giving up your ideas or your connection with the experiences, which only show you limited. Experiences are time bound. They only keep you. An experiencer is an individual. And what?
My experience is that at the long run, there's no difference anymore. So that also knowledge becomes an experience.
So knowledge is non-negatable.
Yeah. So
And non-negatable means you understand it so well
Yeah, it's like
that no experience of yours contradicts what you know.
Well, yeah, I would say that's the experience of freedom,
Yeah, that's a
So
freedom.
That's also an experience, because Tony is talking about your experience. So
But if
That's the
to
experience.
begin with, if we are only trying to understand things through our experiences,
yeah, sure.
then our that itself is a limited paradigm. And within this limited paradigm, without giving it up, if you want to see limitless, it's not possible.
I just want
Yes,
to.
but it's a part. Knowledge is a part of wisdom,
Yeah, it is a part.
and experience is a part of wisdom.
So, experience, as I told you, experience is right now you are experiencing, I am experiencing. Does it establish any truth? Not necessarily. So, that's why this means of knowledge. Do you understand? Some knowledge confirms experiences, some knowledge contradicts experiences. If you overemphasize experiences, you'll never get to knowledge. You have to be able to give up your commitment to experiences, and your commitment has to become to the truth. Then you're willing to give up your first orientation that everything has to be experienced and in fact I just showed you what is experienced is only the objects. The
Yeah, but
self.
I called. I say
Yes.
experience, but I can say
Yes.
other things as well.
Yeah. So, no, what we need to do is that, listen to this knowledge which is showing you who you are with an open mind. Why? Because I myself will raise doubts. I myself will raise logics against it, and I will answer it. And this is something that everybody wants to be free. So why wouldn't you use your buddhi to kind of listen to me, which gives you what you are looking for? And try to understand it rather than negate it. Because suppose you negate it and you remain with your experience, you remain small and insignificant.
Okay.
Well, yeah, there's also like a separation. You're not really open.
Yeah.
You have your
You.
my experience.
Yes.
And that
My.
is not an open attitude.
Exactly.
That is also something to be seen.
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah.
There's no my knowledge.
No, there is no mind knowledge.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right? This is so true, Tony.
Yeah.
See, please understand. People tell me this, and this is one thing that we need to understand, right? There is no my knowledge for anything, right? Newton discovered law of gravity. Did it become English knowledge? Knowledge it has no culture, it has no religion, it has no boundaries, it has no nothing. Knowledge is knowledge. You can't put any label to it. If I say that, oh, that was discovered only by Newton in England, so why should I learn? I'm missing out a very big reality. Okay, the time is over. Right? So this is why here, please understand, in these words of Vedanta, there is nothing to do with India. It has nothing to do with Hindu. It has got nothing to do with culture. It has got nothing to do with anything.
Woman or man or
Woman or man, it has got nothing to do with anything. It is just an inquiry. And an inquiry which makes you see yourself in a light that you have always been wanting to see. Give it a chance with an open mind. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So this was supposed to be for those who didn't have any exposure to Vedanta. And this is a technical class.
Beginners.